Welcome to Welfare Clinic. Every child deserves to live a free life without fear of being bullied. However, we know the bullying takes place in our community, in our educational institution. Most recently, the bullying has been in rise and social media have been flooded with videos and footages of young people being attacked. Most recently, a tragic death, an 11-year-old young man from Bradford took his own life because he was bullied at schools. No parents send their children to school thinking of believing their children will be bullied or their children will not get the education that they deserve. We have four panel members that we're going to discuss about the impact and the consequences of bullying that taking place in our community today. Let me introduce my guest. On my far right is Joel Torobda, who is a community activist, parent, and former school governor. Joel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ali.
Next is Sadia Ahmed, who is year 11, a student from a school in Tar Hamlets. Sadia, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
On my far left is Rebecca Sultana, who is a school governor and teacher. Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And then finally is Mazhar, again is year 11 students in a school in Tar Hamlets. Mazhar, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Let me start off with you. You're a young person. You're in your final year in a secondary school. A lot of the bullying and incidents occurs are children roughly your age, slightly older, 16, 17. Why do you think there's so much violence and bullying taking place in the community?
I think it's many people, many young kids now, they forget how to use their words. So they can't resolve it just by talking to each other. They feel like they have to take it to another level to teach the other person a lesson. And that's where these problems come in. They may be having problems at home, they may not know how to control themselves. And so they take it out on anything and anyone. Like if someone annoys them just slightly, they won't talk to them, they won't resolve it, they'll just go straight for attacking them.
And as a young person, what kind of support would you say that you need or other young people need from their parents, from their school, to prevent those kind of incidents occurring in the community?
Now with the parents, it's more like teaching the children discipline, teaching children how to control themselves one way or another, because if they don't do that, then they'll never know how to control themselves and they'll always lose control. With schools, they should always teach them moral right and wrong. So the child should always be taught and have it drilled into them in school that this is right, this is wrong, and the teacher should do their best to help the students if they feel like the student is having a rough time.
Sadia, we know there is many young gangs group, also are involving in bullying, conflicts. Do you think that whether girls are involved in bullying, and obviously recently we have seen one of the young lady getting kicked on the floor by her own peers, what can be done to prevent those young girls getting involved into those sort of inappropriate behavior?
Well, I think that boys are more prone to testosterone-fueled aggression. So if they have a problem, they'll usually resolve it by fighting. But with girls, they tend to resort to verbal abuse. And a lot of people overlook the fact that verbal abuse can also have lasting effects. It can cause psychological trauma. I think bullying overall is just an excuse to obtain some power, because from a psychological perspective, it works in a cycle. So if someone feels powerless, they'll do anything to kind of restore that sense of power, whether that means making someone feel lesser than them or resorting to violence.
You talked about use of language. We know, especially on the social media, Facebook, Twitter, where girls intend to use those forums to attack they're another former friend or another individual from another group through those verbal abuse, and that, as you said, that also equally has a lasting impact on psychologically. And then, do you think when those things actually happens, then is that having an impact on their education?
Yeah, definitely, because it has some profound emotional impacts, and of course, that will distract you from your education.
And what do you think the school should do, or what can a school do to prevent those kind of activities taking place? And also, do you feel a school has a role to play, or it just should be left with the law enforcement agencies?
I think a great deal of our time is spent within the school walls. So of course the school does have a big role to play. We need to be taught about good morals, and we need to be taught that it's not okay to make fun of someone's appearance, to constantly degrade people, because a lot of the times students think that when they're bullying, it's just a joke. It's just something to laugh at, but it really isn't. You don't see when your victim goes back home how they deal with it, because it's quite a difficult topic and people don't realize the extent of the effect of their behavior.
Rebecca, you're a school governor and you're also a teacher. Um, as a teacher, what do you think a educational institution or school should do, and what kind of role you as a governor or other governors play within the school to make sure incident like this doesn't happen? And we're not just talking about verbal abuse, as Sadi said. We're talking about actually people losing their lives because of those actions. People are being severely injured, whether it's head injury, other physical injuries, which could have a very lasting impact, not only on them, but onto their family and to the community as well.
Yeah, is bullying really alarming and increasing in this community since over a few years. These are usually coming from cyberbullying and physically. All is what we can see in the school. They are like abusing as a like a race, gender, or like a sexually attacking. So as a teacher, I would say that yeah, if there is anything like happening in the school, we as a not only governor, I'm a parents as well. So as a parents, we should talk with our children or the kids, how they are, that they went like a week, days, the school, how they was with the study with their friends. So if we like talk with them properly and, communicate freely.
Do you think, you mentioned very interesting point there, that parents should talk to their children, see how their education is going, how the day was or week was. Do you think those kind of communication actually takes place with the children from your experience as a teacher?
Yeah, of course. If we like ignore our children, then we should be losing our our children's lives. Could be your, could be us, anyone's. So this is really important that we have to find out. The children, was their days really good. Good behave with their the friends. So it is very important. Yeah.
Jewel, you're a community activist. You are a parent. You was a former school governor. What do you think the community can do? We have many community leaders. We have very many influential people within the community. What role do you think they should be playing to help prevent those kind of action or those kind of behavior taking place in the street of our borough or our community?
First of all, I would like to say that it should come from your family, and what is in our society now is lack of good parenting, and basically what they have to do in our family life, that you have to spend good quality time with your children. You have to understand what children want, and also it is your responsibility when children is out. You have to know what they're going to do and where they was. Above all, you have to give them basically a moral education. It's not academic education will overcome that in overnight. In a community, of course, community leader, when I was community, school governor, actually, I engage with our basically parents, and I always was encouraging them to basically look after their children well, make sure they understand their children. And as a community, we can actually encourage our parents particularly and children that what sort of role should they play in our community to be a better citizen in this country in future or anywhere. And in certain degree of basically bullying was always there, but as I agree with Radhika that at the moment is actually bullying is increased through cyber and also
Other
physical,
social media,
and social media as well. And I agree with Sadia as well, because if we cannot tackle from earlier this one, is actually break down people's confidence. And if although bully is not a joke, because she mentioned that sometimes people think that the bully is a joke. It's not actually, because if a children bullied or victim of the bully,
But we get, and our research actually shows that often even primary school children will come back, and I want all of your opinion on that they will come back and they will say, their another classmate called them fat, or you look ugly, or your hair looks like this. And those kind of comments, even though they are primary school children, it still can have a quite negative impact in them. And then they are very worried following morning when they go to school is, oh, am I still fat? Or is my hair still looking like this? Or is what my friends going to say? And so even at such a young age, when this is happening, and often what we see is that when it's reported to the teachers, often teachers don't take those very seriously. Am I right in saying that?
you're right, but
Or-
what actually I would like to add on that actually, because if you see your children is in depress or something, they come from school, the parent first of all they identify that, they can talk with them, and if basically any issue about that, whatever I said, the example, you should go to your children's school, make sure you flagged with their class teacher or head teacher, and make sure they act on it. And if you are not satisfied with that, then of course the governor and everybody come. You can go to directly
There is
governor
more
as well.
agency as well when you can get help.
And this should be like that. But most of the time, sometimes I found that when I was a governor, actually, in few occasions, I found that the incident happened outside the school. So school sometimes can say that, okay, it's happened outside the school, we cannot do anything, we have not got control of that. But yes, still school have got some duty on it actually, because they have to teach their children in a general way that how they should conduct even the outside.
You want to say something on that?
No, as I agree with Joel by what he said. Yeah, as like parents and teacher. Yeah, I would say that yeah, it is really impact of like in the community with our children's. The bullying really occurring very like race, gender, like as you said, like sometimes they said fat, sometimes skinny. It can be yeah, impact and also effect to our children's.
Bullying also, actually, I would like to add on it. Bullying actually not only nowadays on race, gender, or anything. I can see a lot of bullying happen among same race, same sex as well. And this is happening actually. It's bullying boys, particularly it's a diverse community, could be Asian boys bullying Asian boy as well. So it is actually a bit complex. I would say that it's a bit wide area to see at the moment. And recently, as you noticed that basically a lot of bullying and even the suicide happened in our community, and it is happening nowadays is a lot. And actually the bullying is start from the bullying. Bullying actually in some point is transformed to anxiety, transformed to basically mental health, lot of things,
Depression.
depressions. Yeah. So
I want to bring Mazrul and Sadia in. Do you guys think the alcohol and drugs plays a role in those gangs of groups that where then leads to whether it's bullying or other violence? Because reason I say this, the knife crime is increasing. Almost you are pretty much certain every young person, not literally every young person, but most cases you'll find young person carrying knives, and those knives is most probably coming from their own kitchen rather than coming from shelf of a shop. So do you guys, from your experience as a year 11 students, do you guys feel that those drugs and alcohols has an impact and those can make young people react differently, and what can be done about it?
I think nowadays it's not really much about the alcohol or the drugs. It's actually pride. So a lot of these fights happen because they see a boy that's not from their area and they attack him because they don't like his area. So it's more about,
But surely beating somebody up cannot be pride. Destroying somebody's livelihood, destroying somebody's family. Surely that cannot be seen as pride, even by the young people themselves.
no, but you see, they don't think like that. Obviously, when they're doing it, they see it as defending their pride. And then after the consequences happen, yes, they may regret it, but in the spur of the moment, they won't have any regrets at all. And that's not down to drugs or alcohol. That's just down to the mindset they have and what they believe is right because of what they've seen on the streets.
Sadia?
I don't think drugs and alcohol are a reason for the increase in this sort of thing, but I do think drugs and alcohol contribute to the sort of culture that's now prevalent in our communities, where we have gangs who are out in the late hours of the night, beating people up who don't belong in their area. And it is a matter of pride and ego. People look for different ways to inflate their ego, whether that means beating someone up to prove that you're stronger than them, or, insulting someone because of how much money they have because it makes you feel better. Bullying is all about bullies projecting their insecurities. They feel insecure about themselves, so they make other people feel worse about themselves to give them that sense of pride in an inflated ego.
But we recently also saw a video which was on social media. The group of youth was actually attacking police officers, where they were resisting arrest and they were attacking the police officers. Obviously, and somebody's obviously filming them and then uploading it on the social media. And then on that particular video, you could hear you on the background some elderly lady actually calling God because she wasn't sure what's going to happen. But I think the question that Jewel has raised, Sadia, in terms of the parenting and the parents, this is not about blaming the parents not doing their duty or not fulfilling their parenting duties, but it's about also taking responsibility. And would you agree, as a young person, that with schools, the law enforcement have their duty and local authorities, and that's something that we're going to come on to. But if parents is not fulfilling their duty effectively, that could push the children to a wrong path. Would I be right in saying that?
Well, I do think, of course, parents have their responsibility in this to some extent. The local authority has their responsibility to some extent, and so does the school. But the perpetrators in question aren't exactly 3-year-olds. They're like 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds. They should have a moral understanding. They should have some form of common sense. They do understand, so it's down to them.
Because we recently also saw, it's not just about bullying. We recently saw a murder that took place in London Borough of Tower Hamlets. We know from the press the three people who's been arrested, the youngest person is actually 16-year-old. And because they had some kind of argument in a chicken and chip shop. So they came out, decided to attack the individual, and then the individual was pronounced dead at the scene.
This is very interesting thing actually you raise. Now, of course, parents have got responsibility, but yes, the local government, local authority have got some responsibility as well. If you see in a street now, because why there is a more bullying? Because those people do bully, they think that they can get away easily because there is no enforcement. I would say that policing is presence. As you said, that police was attacked because they know that there is no enough police to back up. And basically, if you see last few years, I will say that is cart everywhere. And I think so. It is also affected in Tower Hamlet budget as well. A lot of carts, and what actually we are local authority is not spending to make sure these children is okay. Basically, they are not spending money on the activity for clubs or anything, wherever children can go, they can talk, they can play. And I think so this is one of the reason actually is increase, and local authorities should think about that. They increase their basically budget on that and spend more on that actually.
Yeah, but
Go on.
yeah, because recently I can see that there is so many like schools and youth club as well, which is like closing down all the for their activities, doing the computer, and then after the school club, and also the youth club has closed down as well. So these are affecting to our young generation. For the children, where they can spend sometimes, to their activity with their friends, spending with their friends the time. So these are, I think these are also, we have to add that, these causing more, in the society, in our communities, which is they are doing more.
Well, let's ask the two young people that we have. Do you think there is enough activity? Because both of you go to school in Tower Hamlets. Do you guys think, from your own respective position, there is enough activities for girls and there is enough activities for boys? Because a lot of the thing, one of the issue a lot of people say is that the housing crisis, a lot of people got limited space in their own house, so they go outside. When they go outside, there is no enough activities, so they get involved into wrong path. They go involved into gangs. They get involved into fights and things like that. And are those people right when they say that there is no enough, or do you guys disagree that there is enough activities in Tower Hamlets?
I actually disagree. I think there are more than enough activities in Tower Hamlets. I have an activity every single day of the week, like in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening as well. So I think it's not about the fact that there's less provision, it's about the fact that young people generally are motivated to look for the provision that's there. So like, if I want to join a club, I'll go out and look for the club. I'm not going to wait for a club to come and talk to me and say, my club is
But
here.
I understand that, but what you would have to appreciate, Mazhar, everybody may not be so well understanding and equipped or mindset as you, and not necessarily may come from with a family background with support, encouragement. So what would you say to those young kids who may not have the same privilege background as you do, and they feel that they are kind of been forgotten or left out and they're not worthy of being part of the community?
I think in terms of youth provision, it has nothing to do with the way you were brought up.
Okay.
Because I've never seen in a youth club somebody being turned away because they're not good enough. I've never seen somebody being turned away because they're this race, because they're poor, because they're rich. When you come to a youth club, when you come to activities like football clubs and extracurricular activities like that, such as in school, they don't discriminate against you. So even if at home they're feeling like they're not being treated correctly, if they go to these clubs, then they will.
So why do you think if you're saying there is enough provision, why do you think the young people are not taking up those provision then?
Honestly, it's because they just don't want to. I know a lot of people, my own friends, that used to be part of clubs, and then as they grew up, they went away from it. They were more on the streets, it's not about the fact that there's not enough provision to keep them entertained. It's about the fact that they end up not wanting to do it anymore, and they think that the street life is the way.
Sadia?
Personally, I don't think youth involvement is an issue, particularly in Tower Hamlets. We have a lot of clubs, a lot of schemes, and they're very accessible. So there's a lot of opportunities. But I think the issue lies in these anti-school subcultures that are being created, because people who perform badly academically, they resort to, the street life, to gang violence. Because I've seen it myself. A lot of people I've gone to school with, around year 8, they sort of gave up academically, and then they resorted to, drugs and guns, even alcohol. It's just that culture that exists.
So for girls, do you think there is enough provisions, and if there is, same question what I asked Mazhar is that why do you think then girls are not taking up those provisions, and why are they then getting into wrong path?
I do think that people take advantage of the provisions, but then they sort of get bored of that, and then they just, they resort to joining.
Is it because
gangs.
it's the same kind of activities, or is it something that they're not interested in? Do you think that it should be more tailor-made activities rather than just a blanket, say whether it's football or table tennis or playing games on the computers? Do you think it should be more tailor-made to encourage more young people to come in?
I don't think it's any inadequacies in terms of the youth provisions in Tower Hamlets that is causing this. I think it's more, this appeal of the gangs that we can't understand. For some reason, these people are being lured into these gangs. They know that it's unsafe. They know that it's, not the right path to take, but they're taking it. We need to figure out why.
Because what I'm trying to establish is that why is so much gang fights? Why is happening? And what can be done to address those issues? Because there must be somebody out there, or organization, authority, who can get involved, and start addressing those issues. Because our research tells us that if this issue is not addressed, it will escalate, and we'll probably end up losing more vulnerable lives when there is no need to do so. But obviously, you, Joel and Rebecca, you guys disagree that there isn't enough provision. When there's two young people feel there is enough provision, but they also feel the provision really hasn't got anything to do with bullying. So I just want to come back to you guys. What, in your own opinion, why do you think those bullying actually take place? We heard from the young people why they think that is taking place. But as a parent, as a teacher, a school governor, why do you guys think that those kind of bullying takes place? And both of you as a parent, what would be your message to the other parents? If you really want to go first?
Children actually, basically, those people actually do less performance, as you said, Rebecca. You said earlier, yeah. Basically, they actually try to bully others. It is true in some sense in human psychology actually. If a children, they feel that basically they are bullied themselves, they go bully to other actually. Bully is not always directly, indirectly could be. As a parent, if you expect something more from your children, like children cannot give you something, like if you want to see your children should be doctor, barrister, everyone, and they have got constant pressure at home, what they do, actually once they go to outside, they are depressed and they actually try to bully others. This is one of the...
So you're saying they react to the pressure they get from their parents?
Yeah, and another thing is, of course, both youngsters, they say that actually there is adequate activities. Yes, in a society now, since I came in this country long time now, in a society now, this activity is privileged to some people. Yeah, maybe some parents are active, they are sending their children to nice places and other things, and some parents are not, because so children is doing themselves and they cannot actually mix with other and go whatever they want to do. And this is one of the things actually they fall in frustration, and from frustration actually they do wrong thing. But what, as a community, we have to make sure to all children that even if you bully or if someone victim of bullying, both way you are not showing that you are better off actually, because you actually spoil your future life, career and everything. So our youngster, if they get proper guide and support, as I said, that I'm surely still I believe that the local authority can do more for our children, and then of course the bullying will be go down. And as I said that earlier, that in some degree of bullying was always there, but it's increased because of lack of the facilities.
Yes, same point of view as well. I would say bullying.
But you are a mother, and a lot of people say the mother play very influential role within their children. Some people may disagree with that, but from mother's point of view, what would you say that you do with your own children, assuming you have children, yes, what you do with your children, and what would be your advice to other mothers, especially mothers who may be single parents. The child may not have access to their father, so the mother is having to fulfill the role of the father and the mother. Do you think, because whole purpose of having this discussion is to establish why this is happening and how we can address what is the root of the problem. We need to get to the root of the problem. So what would you say as a mother, and what would be your message to the other mothers out there?
Yeah, I would say that, because I've got children. I always make sure that, when they come back from school, they're always happy. Whatever.
And how do you find? How do you
To their
find out that they are happy?
Their expression, how they feel when they come back, when they say hello mom. So I know that my son is or daughter is very happy that they have spent good way. If anything, like sometimes probably he's sad, or upset, so I always ask that, why you been upset. So he give me example that this
So
is,
you interact with your
I
children.
always interact, even though the family always try to find out if the children is happy with their education.
Yeah, this is actually, you are right actually. You should ask your children how was the school, how was the day, and then they will come out. But one thing I would add to this point actually, Oli, if you see in our society now, it's more actually broken families. Another issue as well, I will say that. If you see more broken family, as a mom and dad, there is a role model in the society, in a family is good for the children as well. I'm not saying that, but this is could be one of the reason as well actually, because if you see mom and dad, basically together and looking after children is one way. If you are a mom only or dad only, it sometimes is difficult to, look after everything. This is one of the problem I think so at the moment, because of if you see more and more if you see that in our community as well, more and more actually spoken family nowadays. Maybe we can work on that as well as a community.
But do you think those are the reasons for bullying? You're shaking your head. You don't agree with that?
No. I have many friends who have single parents and they are decent human beings. They know not to bully others. But I know a few bullies who belong to, unbroken families with both parents. If you don't have one parent, if one parent left your house, it doesn't give you an excuse to go and make other people's lives a misery. You should have some moral basis telling you that's
Sadia,
not to do.
what I want to ask is, why do you think, just take one individual for a minute, why do you think an individual who's attending a school want to achieve the best education they possibly can, want to do extremely well, and I'm sure every single child that you talk to, they all want to do very well in their life, they want to be somebody, they want to make their parents proud. What triggers them to just go off the line and then gets into something that they shouldn't? Next minute, then we see they get arrested, they get criminalized, and then whole life is upside down completely.
It's all about acquiring a sense of belonging. So if a student is failing academically, they'll probably feel like they aren't meeting the expectations of their parents, especially if they are under a lot of pressure to achieve good grades, and then they look for that sense of belonging in other places like gangs.
So you guys think, well, what I'm hearing from all four of you actually, the parents plays a very significant role in their children's life.
To some extent,
If I
in
may,
this case.
I think, yeah, of course, parents play a very vital role in the child's life. But at the end of the day, when the child hits the point in their life where they have the understanding themselves, it's down to the role model they choose. It's down to the young person themselves.
But how would you decide who is your role model? Because nowadays we see loads of, especially girls, where there's a music, artists, singers, all these shows that goes on TV. People seems to be more glued on to those shows and programs than anything else. And sometimes, do you think? And then you see a singer who you think is fantastic, beautiful voice, and then you get national news broke out about them that they got involved in some kind of scandals or got convicted for drugs or things like that, racing, and then that individual is your role model. So how do you choose the role model? How do you go about picking somebody who you want to be your role model? Because it's a very big decision, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but you see, the problem isn't that they have a celebrity role model who's gone off tracks. The problem is they have a role model, someone in the community who they see on a regular basis doing things that are wrong. So people who join gangs, they don't join gangs because one day they say, oh, I like gangs. They see an older figure, someone who they see has a lot of respect in the community by maybe other gang members, and they see, yeah, look, he's got a lot of respect, he's making good money, and then they aspire to be like them. So it's not like the celebrity they see that's successful, it's like the person they see every day in their lives, they see what they're doing. And then
So it could be their family members?
it could be, yeah, but it could also be people they don't even know, but they aspire to be like them. So suppose it's a wrong person, someone who's involved their lives in gangs, drugs, alcohol fights, then that's the life you're going to lead yourself into. So at the end of the day, parents can do a lot, teachers can do a lot, the school can do a lot, authorities can do a lot, but if the child themselves can't see it, that this is a wrong role model, this is a right role model.
And at what
then
age
that's
would you
what's gonna-
say? At what age would you say that the child should be able to make their own decision? Or
The moment they can make any choice for themselves is the moment they're mature enough to know what is right and what is wrong.
This is actually a very good point because of if you see, I would like to say that this is now a cosmetic world basically, and what you do basically, child learn from childhood like game. Actually, all of the games, cinema, everything they encourage in somehow some sort of role model, which is a wrong model actually, the muscle showing and this sort of thing. So what they do actually, so child see this unsupervised, and actually this is the time the parent come actually, when if you see in our society that although Facebook account everybody should not open, but if you see a lot of child they have got Facebook account, they just make a Facebook account, put a date of birth.
many parents actually open a Facebook account for their children.
Yeah.
So.
And mobile phone and other things as well. So they learn from there.
But then some parents will argue, Joel, that they living in 21st century. You cannot prevent young people from certain aspect of social media and certain aspect of freedom, because you cannot keep them in a cage.
But I'm not saying that they have to keep them in cage, but it have to be guided. It have to be properly, created, and you have to fulfill the regulation of the country as well. I will say that, because when they did any restriction on age, anything, they did a lot of research on it first, and then they impose that. But you are, as a parent, you are opening an account.
We're almost coming to end of the show, and at the end, I'm going to ask all of you, and something that you guys I want you to think about is, after this show, you're going to go away in your own community, in your own school, and you're going to do one thing to raise awareness about bullying and to prevent bullying taking place in the community or street or your school or your premises, wherever you work or whatever you do. So I want you to think about it, and I'm going to come and ask every single one of you to give me one thing that you're going to do once you leave this studio, that you're going to do to prevent bullying taking place in your workplace, schools, in your community. But I want to come back to you, Rebecca, finally. As a school governor, the governors makes a lot of the decision in the school, what actually goes on within the school. So when there is incidents occurs, why is it then the school very reluctant to exclude children from the school then, to show a way that their behavior is not acceptable?
Obviously, there is a school have got like policy and procedures. Yeah, every child have to follow the policy. How the schools, how they're going to be follow the schools rules and regulation. This is really important. Yeah, whoever like there is so many children who is like the rules they're following, but some of them whoever just like discriminating the policy, and then like their the way they should be. So we as a governor, we know that child is not like the responding, and they are not into the education. So we'll always look at this child and try to call them and ask them that what they are.
Just before this show, we actually carried out a survey, and the survey, what came out, the two things that a lot of the people believe if the children is misbehaving, then maybe the parents should be penalized, maybe the parents should be fined for their children action.
Not directly, they don't directly fine. Yeah, they call to the parents. Yeah, and then they tell that what's happened to their kids. So if parents doesn't agree, then probably they take the different route.
Okay.
For me, I think fining parents because of what their child does isn't actually a very good idea. Because, okay, so the parent, they teach their children something at home, then the child goes to school. If the child doesn't apply what they've learned at home in school, it's not in the parent's control. It's in the child's control. So I think instead of fining parents, I think one-to-one support should be provided for children instead. It's a much more effective way of controlling the situation.
Some parents are ignorant. It does not mean that have to be fine imposed on there. And basically what they have to do, basically instead of fine, actually they have to approach parents again and again. I will say that. And if there is a problem, of course there is other legal authorities to
Sadia, we are almost end of the show. One thing you're going to do when you leave this studio to prevent bullying taking place?
I think the most effective method of prevention is raising awareness about the possible effects of bullying. So when we find out about all these suicides, about these killings, that should be enough to sort of reduce it somewhat.
Joel?
Of course, I always do about the awareness session with
I
my
want a
community.
specific
What I will
thing
do,
that you're going to
definitely,
do.
I will go to my community center, and we have got Friday peers there, and I will try to encourage from there all of our community people that they have to, make sure they are spending time with their children and know what their children is doing, that sort of things.
I guess I'll do what I'm already doing. I'll spread the word about these killings, these suicides. I'll show everyone how it's wrong.
Yeah, the parents should be aware about this bullying. They should go and advise to their children, how they should be. And if there is no possible, we should go to the agency who can help, or the governing body, who can mostly can take the advantage.
Joe, Sadia, Mazhar, Rebecca, thank you very much for coming to the show and sharing your knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I hope the discussion was useful. As you have heard from our guest, bullying shouldn't be tolerated in any form, regardless of your race, your religion, however you look, or however you pray, or wherever you come from. Young people deserve to get educated, and the best education available to them should be delivered without any fear, without being worried getting bullied or being worried, being called names because you happen to be from different race or religion. Those kind of behavior has no place in our community, in our society. But we also have heard the parents has responsibility, well as everybody else. The young people have responsibility. They have to understand, and somebody has to tell them difference between right and wrong. Often we hear the education starts at home, and that is so true. The education does start at home. Until a child realizes and understands difference between right and wrong, until then, the parents has the full responsibility to teach their children right or wrong. Until next time, do take care, don't be bullied, and if you need help, seek help out there.